Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another scene for the living world of darkness, rage across New York. Wherein, set on the Sept of the Green, we have a seeker's cabin, and inside it, believe it or not, we have seekers. And oh lordy. And yeah, it's been a surprisingly chill day for the 10 point. She has done wild things like make sure nobody came a knocking on the door, talk to some spirits, poked her head in at Belvedere to make sure, everything's kosher for when the guests arrive. And yeah, all in all, it's been about as close to normal as things have been for a while. So at this point in the day, as we're getting later on into evening and whatnot, 10 Points played her Twilight song and come back and settled in, and is probably, we'll say at this point she's comfortable enough. She's nested up on the couch. And yeah, just kind of tucked back into one corner of it, back to the cushions, feet pulled up like a heathen.
The other seeker, Aidan Lynch, is prepping himself. Shaves the beard off. Looks way too scruffy with that thing anyway. And, has music blaring, that kind of, cocky posture music as he's, buttoning up his shirt, trying on the suit jacket. Combs the hair to the side so it falls very gracefully down. And, yeah. Walks out and... Well, 10 Point can see why Aidan is probably appearance 3 when he walks out. It's that type of thing. Do you know what I mean? He looks damn good, pauses himself in the mirror and fixes, his collar, and then will flick out his phone with a very familiar smile on his face, and then we'll stop and stare at himself. Just this abrupt stop. And probably staring at himself for about maybe 2 minutes, just frozen in place. As he realizes, I can't go where he wants to go and head out. And yeah, 10 Point will probably see it clear as day.
Oh yeah. Doubtlessly, as he came a blasting out of his room with that swagger, she picked a glance up just to see, because, well, when Aidan goes out, he dresses all kinds of ways. So she's glanced up and probably taken on a faint little smile. We'll say she's nabbed a book or something, and so she's pretending to still be reading her book, but glancing up, kind of just being entertained with him finally being in, an upbeat, good, normal mood. And he'll flick out the phone. And considering that, at least between the two of them in the pack link, there's little to no barrier taking place, it's the it's not the action that catches her, it's the fact that there's an abrupt shift emotionally and mentally. And so this time she more sharply snaps a glance up, and after a moment's pause, brow kind of knitting, won't interrupt whatever's going on in his head by pressing at it through the link, but will instead just kind of, while he's staring at himself in the mirror and the mood is dropping, will just quietly close the book and reach out and very gingerly set it on the coffee table and start just, again, very quietly trying not trying to be sneaky so much as trying not to distress him or disturb him or snap him out of whatever he's thinking, will kind of unfold herself from her place on the couch and rouse up and kind of make a tentative approach. And if she gets that far before he looks away, we'll set a hand on his shoulder, but there's no telling how close she gets before he snaps away from glancing at the mirror.
The whole way when she sees him literally just, crack his neck. Just look down at himself again and look up. Just take a breath. And we'll head back towards his room. His posture noticeably... It's still the swagger's there and that signature, walk. He doesn't hunch his shoulders, but it's definitely not as skippy, I would say. Closes the door.
And her brow knits, and she'll slip down the hall and go so far as to, instead of simply opening the door and letting herself in, will get as far as the doorway and pause there, adopting a lean against the frame. Not even the door itself, but the frame. So that she can lean her head in towards, the crack of where the door opens. And just kind of call through. Right?
You'll hear, like, you can hear the signature sounds of someone getting changed, and you'll hear, yeah.
You alright?
Of course I am. Yeah, why wouldn't it be?
And there's a significant pause as she muddles through a handful of potential answers and finally settles on no reason, Raya.
Yeah, probably just if she's poking her eye in at all, she'll see the suit being, not aggressively thrown, just thrown on the bed, and she'll see him change into that kind of normal clothes he wears around the set. Very baggy, very, that type of thing, as he immediately ruffles at his hair and shakes it. And just takes another sigh and stares at himself in the mirror again and just nods to himself. Yeah. You'll even probably hear it, just, yeah. As he bites his lip. Yeah.
Oh, she'll probably be nosy enough to steal at least a fleeting glance to make sure nothing's, like, flying, per se, but, isn't gonna, like, just creep through the crack in the door, because that would be really weird. But she just maintains the lean on the door frame from outside. Are you sure you're alright, Raya?
Yeah, of course I am. Why wouldn't it be?
I don't know.
Oh, I'm completely fine.
You don't sound fine, Raya.
It's nothing. It's nothing. You hear the signature steps as he's obviously taking off his shoes, and when he opens the door again, he's in his bare feet and like this pair of shorts and baggy t-shirt. He'll just open the door, and she'll see immediately in his hand he's rolling something to smoke. So he kind of will gingerly try to step by her.
Oh yeah, she won't stand in his way. In fact, if anything, as the door opens, she actually eases back a little bit to give him room to pass.
Yeah, he walks down the hallway. She'll see him pop the cigarette in his mouth as he's heading towards to sit outside.
And much as she normally does, she just kind of moves to trail along behind.
Yeah, comes outside and sits, and she can tell it's one of the remainder joints, and he'll just light it and take a long drag.
And she'll, depending on where he is plopped, will either plop down alongside him, or if he's up in one of the chairs, will plop down alongside one of his legs.
You just stare out. Why are you so concerned, Tenpine?
Should I not be, Raya?
I'm fine. Just gotta keep on the straight and narrow.
Not going out then, Raya.
It was a big fancy party, and I used to go out with them with and wasn't like I was intentionally going to call her or anything. I just wanted to go out, and he just shrugged to himself. I just looked in the mirror and realized. I realized what part of me was going to do. It's nothing sad. It's just. Huh. It's more this acceptance, really. Do you know what I'm saying?
And her lips press into a line. And she'll turn a glance back at him, looking up, kind of trying to catch his expression.
He's sitting there smoking. He's not like depressed or he doesn't look as miserable as he did. He just looks more accepting. Like
Resigned?
Yeah, resigned, yeah. That'll probably be the best word. This resigned acceptance. There's no bitterness that flows through. It's just, yeah, no, this is it.
And she'll just shift herself a bit to where she's plopped down, like, if he's sitting like guys usually sit, kind of slumped back in the chair, legs akimbo. She's just gonna sit herself between him, back to him, and will reach into her bag and pull out one of the cigarettes he's given her at some point or another. And yeah, she'll light and take a drag and just kind of join him in idly sitting.
Sheila told me there the other day that she was lucky that she had such a good husband like me.
And she'll twist around a bit so that she's at more of an angle and can kind of see him readily in peripheral. From what I understand, Raya, she is. Political marriages they can be ugly.
Something to do with that, I don't think.
No?
He kind of rubs the back of his head. I think with time, and if I keep them pushing it away, I think her and I will be very happy. We'll have lots of kids. She just struck me as odd,
Why should it be odd, Raya?
Just feels it, you know what I'm saying?
She kind of cants her head a little bit.
It's nothing bad. It's just weird to accept things. You spend your whole life trying to just bury your head in the sand from stuff, and then when you finally do it, it's an odd feeling. To know that this is the road, do you know?
When she takes on a more thoughtful expression, turns her face away to take another drag and then blow out the smoke. I've found it's harder, stranger, to not know the path and be on it.
What I've noticed is, me included, we're inherently selfish. We think about ourselves. We think about how this is going to do it. And then in the end, when we make the choice, it's that much harder to look back, I've noticed. And I'm not saying I want to look back and change my course. No, I can't now. This is it. It's just I noticed how easy it was when I just made it. You know? And I'm not saying
It's,
the one thing I want, I'll never have. It's just curious the fact that I'm so willing just to push forward. When a couple of months ago, I would have done everything to fight for it. It's funny how perspective changes you.
after the first time a choice is made, Ra, it's easier to make it again. And the more times you make the same choice, the easier it becomes every time to make that choice again and again.
Just shrug. It's like all these people saying, like yesterday, you know, they can't do what needs to be done. They can't face it because what's love compared to honor? You know what I mean? What's the price of a person's smile? A brother, a sister, a girlfriend, or a wife, you know? But that's what we signed up for, isn't it?
And she pulls a bit of a face.
We,
The nation doesn't place much value on love, does it, Raya?
that's what I'm saying. We signed up for this. This is what we were bred for. You know?
It is generous to say we signed up.
We took vows. We took rites of passages. We take fostering challenges. We take Adrian challenges from Athro, whatever you call it. We took those. Now people can say, "Oh well, my tribe and all this," but at the end of the day, we picked it ourselves. That's what I've realized.
We do. We choose to accept. But don't forget, Raya, once we were born into this life, we were born into it. There's no turning back.
He'll smile a bit. People choose the direction they want to go to that point. Whether they're born into it or not. You heard your own story. She chose where she wanted to end up. She chose that path. At the end of the day, I chose mine. And that right there is the proof that I'm able to walk down it. Even if it stings. I just find it curious. Is it a sign of me growing up, or is it a sign that I'm just hardening? I don't know. Kind of rub the back of his head. He doesn't look sad, he just more looks ponderous, if you get me.
Mm-hmm. And she's doing her best to keep a careful tab on him in case the emotional tone shifts in exactly that direction. But for the moment, no, she's just resting easy, probably at this point leaning on one of his legs because she's turned herself around and has to issue something of a shrug. You've
It's
been
like,
given the liberty of making more choices than I have, Raya.
but you made the choice still. You made choices in your life. You could have, the moment you came here, you could have gone out there. He points out into the sept itself and gone with any number of the people here. They would have taken you in, right? These people.
I was already claimed by a pack, Raya.
But you could have, couldn't you? If you knew, like I did.
She kind of shrinks in a little. I suppose, right?
Why didn't you?
I couldn't. Mariah's took responsibility for me. Been taught.
Enough of the Raya shite. Why couldn't you, 10 Point? Why couldn't you, Moira, do it?
Here, 1 second. Sorry. She gives her head a tight little shake. It wasn't my place to make choices. I did what I was told.
And you chose to accept that. So in a way, you made your own choice. However small it may be, but you still made the choice.
The alternative wasn't very attractive, right?
But then again,
If you want to mince words, if I had been that willful, I wouldn't have been here.
there you go. But you made the choice all along, 10 Point. That's something you'll have to accept with yourself. You chose Stack. Same as he marked you, and I marked you. The rest of us have marked you, and you chose to be marked by us. No matter how small or fragile it may be. Can you reach over and do that gentle cheek rake?
Rake?
Mm-hmm. Not with his nail, not like harshly, but just gently, like the tips of his nails touching her face. That's the one thing I've noticed about the nation that we can't really accept sometimes. It's what Garrett was on about. And part of me got it the first time. But I think I truly get it now. It's not about predicting it. It's about living with it. You know?
She, her eyes kind of half lid as the fingers rake over her cheek. Lightly, admittedly, but still. And, during the pause, she draws it out a bit by pulling on the cigarette again, buying herself a couple seconds. I suppose, Raya. But even now, it's strange to think how much things have changed.
You can smile a bit. Traditionalists always say that things stay the same, and to a degree they're right. The liberals want to change things, but I've noticed many things since I've been a guru at 10 Point. I've noticed you could describe being a guru as like the passage of water down a stream. The first initial bit is wild. Where we are now, it's where you spread out to many different areas. Some lengthen, some shorten. And we all face the final estuary. You know? But to try and block the dam, as it were, and block the passages. They work in some cases, but in the end, there's only one river flow that you need to choose.
I suppose not.
I mean, it's a way of life, Tempoid.
It is right, but my perspective and yours have been very, very different.
We're different auspices. We're different breeds. We see things differently. But ultimately, each stream that we go down will never be the same. And that's the beauty of it, I think. And the harshness of it.
And she finally just smokes the cigarette down until it's a bite, probably because she's been pulling on it so damn much. But snuffs it out. Sometimes I wonder, but sometimes it's harder to understand. I guess, in a way, I've made choices. But it wasn't till we came here that I actually believed I was making choices.
Do you want to know the crazy thing, Tempoid? Is he's picking her up so she's like on his lap.
No, yeah, she's easy to shuffle up. She'll work with him on it.
And as he locks eyes with her, he gently pulls like probably some of her red locks out of her face. So she's eye to eye with him. I felt the same way. Hell, I still feel like I'm being pulled back by a chain because I'm a ragabash. When people mock me and call me in a rune and all that. But I don't care about being called in a rune. I care about being a Fianna. That's my life, Tempoid.
And she is blatantly taken aback by the notion that he ever felt as if he didn't have a choice because, well, she can only have so much of a grasp of what it's like to grow up being human, but from what she understands, it's just pure chaos. So, yeah, she's taken aback, and then the mention of being Fianna being the thing that matters, the expression softens a bit. And she'll pick up a hand and kind of distract herself, pulling her eyes away from his long enough to kind of look to his hair, tuck bits of it back. Right, you are. Certainly, Fianna. You understand Stack's ideals and stand by them. But it is strange to think that growing up the way you did, and seeing all the things you've seen, that you didn't make choices till now.
Do you want to know what it was? Because I made choices, but do you want to know the crazy thing about when you realize? Maybe it's with age. I'm not that old. That's the funny thing, but I feel it. I smile up at her. I let myself think I didn't have them. You know? It was easier to admit to myself that I didn't have the choice when in reality, I just went along with the crowd, went along with it. Went along with the notion of it. And a lot of it I agreed with, and I still do. I stand by who I am and my principles. But I put myself here. And maybe it's that realization is what makes me who I am now, going forward. Maybe that's what you need to be a Foster or an Adrian. Acceptance. Rather than just chaos.
And her brows again lift a bit. And then it knits briefly in thought. It seems so much the opposite to me. I'm used to it being ordered. I'm used to things being the way they're meant to be. Even chaos and battle is still a battle and part of the plan. It's only being here that I'm starting to ask questions and starting to make choices and realizing that I can. It's just a matter of accepting the consequences.
You smile up at her, stroking her cheek again. Exactly. Acceptance. Predicting them, all these things, it's great and wonderful, but accepting them, that's the key.
And she adopts a slight, a slight tilt of head. First, just kind of lightly into the brush of the fingers, but then more deeply to an inquisitive angle. Was there ever a time that you didn't believe there were consequences, Raya?
Smile down at her, like he smiled looking down. Yeah, there was. Wasn't too long ago, actually.
She's blatantly puzzled by the very notion. She has always had consequences. Always.
He'll look up at her. Look at who I am, 10 point. What's my deed name?
Tamer of Dragons, Raya.
What am I known for?
And she smiles faintly. Very faintly. Doing things that are completely mad, Raya.
People look at me, and they don't see a ragabash. They mockingly say they see a rune. But there was a point where I just was me. Where I just dipped my head into the chaos and didn't look back. Didn't think where I stood. Didn't think where I stepped, because admitting where I was going was wrong. How could a man like Tamer of Dragons accept that?
Did you forget the teeth when you jumped, Raya? She's kind of teasing. There's still a faint smile.
I just thought it was mine for the taking. I didn't care about anything else.
But even if you didn't care... And she'll reach up and just tap his temple. You knew.
I knew. Probably did, yeah. There was some part of me screaming. But there's still that part of me, and it's still when I fight.
Ignoring the part of you that's screaming seems to be your favorite part, Raya.
I've changed, though. I look down. I'm still I'm still a Fianna. I always will be.
We wouldn't have you any other way, right?
But I've realized what growing up a Fianna really means. It doesn't just stop when you hit Cleath. It doesn't just stop. Ever. When you get older. I'm seeing it now.
No, it doesn't.
I just thought it meant, at one stage, being the greatest warrior you can be. Didn't matter whether you were a Ragabash, an Arun, Theurge, Cleath, Galliard, Philodox. It just, for me, it meant that we were the greatest warriors there. We were. We are. Now it means so much more. I suppose I sound foolish.
And she goes and kind of ducks her head to hide a faint smile. It's not foolish, Raya. It is growing up.
And I questioned my alpha for the first time. He just licks his lips. But I felt right doing it. Is that wrong?
It's your guy-given duty to question, Raya.
It is, but it's when to ask the right questions. But it wasn't passion that was burning through me. It wasn't that weakness of the passion. It was more determination. It's a funny thing.
You did as you were meant to do. You have to question. If you didn't question our alpha, you'd be doing her a disservice. If you didn't question our beta, you would be doing him a disservice. This is what you're here to do. Is to make sure that they make the right choices for the right reasons, right?
But I worry, Timpoint.
They will look harshly on you for doing what you were meant to.
It's not that. What does it say when I go into that meeting? And it's not Banshee doing it.
It says that of all of us in this pack, that you are the one who has his head on the battlefield. And you are the one most suited to the job.
And what does it say when she sends you in her stead?
And she kind of pulls in her lower lip and chews on it briefly on that one. Were it anyone but the warder, I would have been concerned, but considering his strange favoritism...
It's not even that. It's what the others think. Each and every one of them. And I love Banshee to death. And I worry.
I think a clever Ragabash could argue that perhaps she is the only alpha on Sept with the sense to send the person most suited to each duty instead of trying to take them all herself.
I could, but another clever Ragahash could point out she's hiding from responsibility.
It sounds like grounds for a challenge.
It does. But you know how this set works. Whisper to a rumor to proven fact.
Still, there comes a time when even the elders of this place say that it is time to challenge or to drop it.
I know. But by that time the die is cast and that memory still remains. They like to say drop it and the matter goes away, but we both know, and I'm evidence of that. It doesn't go away.
And she'll kind of slack into leaning on him, still chewing on her lip thoughtfully. It's true. And it's the kind of thing we've been fighting since we came here.
And maybe, I don't know, I just think in 10 point. It's raking around my head.
Then set your hands on the thought and pull it out and look at it, Raya. Instead of letting it run wide.
Oh, I've gone through it about 500 times now.
And do you get the same answer every time, Raya?
There's different points. There's different cases that could be made, all very good, clever points. All very logical. But my heart says I'm right in thinking so. If it needs to be done.
But you're still doubting?
Why would I hurt the things I love? That comes back to Aragabash's timing. Doing it the right way. Then blindly charge in.
Considering the ripples, then.
Precisely.
And how do you make the fewest ripples, Raya?
By doing this the right way, our way. And not doing what I need to do during this time of war. For everyone will speak and cast their judgment on it.
And she kind of knits her brow and finally sits herself up a bit again, just so she can turn and look at him properly. Certainly not as much in his personal space as he tends to get in hers, but just kind of looking.
He seems to have this very determined, not grim, but more determined, like he's taking this seriously. He seems to analyze everything. He seems very deep in thought. You can almost see the gears turning in his head.
And what do you mean to do, Raya?
That. You look down.
Or have you decided?
If it comes to that.
Sorry, what did he say before that?
Challenge. If it comes to that.
And her lips firm a bit. Perhaps first, Raya, we should take the time to speak to her.
That was my first thing. And look up and smile at her, you see? Secondly, I can point out several instances where she's performed better than me. Thirdly, if this corrects, then there's no need. Fourthly, how would people react to me? Fifth, how would Balian react? How would Dallas? How would you? Would we still be a family if I misstepped? You see? I don't take this lightly, and I don't take this at a moment of passion. If I was going to do it, by that point I would know the die is cast. And I've exhausted all other options. And I must do what is right by my blood, by my soul, by who I am. As a Fianna. As Eden Lynch Krause. As tamer of fucking dragons. And he'll look down at his feet.
Pray on it, Raya. Speak to Stag. Come with me to the sheep's meadow. Consult the lives that came before ours. Dana has given us a wealth of knowledge.
It'll look up. I'm not going to challenge during wartime. 10 point, I'm not stupid.
Of course not, Raya.
It's just been encroaching on my mind, and I've weighed up the options. I've thought about everything, and just sitting there watching, building, thinking, doing what a Ragabash should be doing, rather than blindly charging. Maybe I will talk to Stag or consult some visions, but is it wrong of me to feel like that?
She tilts her head a bit.
To think of, I don't mean it as a way of disrespecting Banshee. Far from it. But I give everything for this pack. If that meant fighting the person that took me in, then I'd do it.
I imagine, Raya, that when you speak to her, once you give her the insight that someone with only no moon can have, perhaps things will change.
What if they don't?
Then I will hope, Raya, that when the time comes to challenge, she has the clarity to offer a challenge suited to the severity of the situation.
But I can handle anything.
She shoots him a faint glance.
It's said incredibly confidently, like I can handle anything.
Overconfident.
Yeah. We'll look at her. I just want to know if it's right that I would do that to mean that Dana's children would go in the direction she intended. Is it right to do that?
I suppose that it depends on the reason that she has made these choices. And whether that reason falls in line with what Dana wishes. After all, there's no concern of Dana's what the other packs might think of our alpha. Dana's only concern is what we are able to achieve when it comes to finding what is lost.
And then what of Stag himself? And the blood that runs through our veins?
And she pops her head up the slightest bit. Stag has never had such fine representation in a liberal place as this.
Not to... He'll smirk a bit. Stag is Stag. Every Fianna should know that. Whether they're liberal or whatever they like to call themselves. His blood is through our veins, 10 point. That fire you feel in your stomach. That's him. Why we paint ourselves. Why we carry ourselves. Who we are. It's because of his grace. His wisdom. You touch her face again, the nails very softly streaking against her cheek. Maybe a Metis, but you are marked by him.
And she very quickly, it's very, very small, it's a very tiny little shake, but she almost leans back the slightest bit, giving her head a shake, eyes kind of falling.
Some would see that as an ultimate irony or a mocking. Others, like myself, would see that as the opportunity for you to show that Stag, wisdom affects all of us. That yes, a Metis can live and die as a guru and reject the worm's call. She can be a true Fianna, like the rest of us. That standard she can live up to. And remind other guru that if the Metis can do it, well, what's their excuse?
Raya, I am not a standard to be held to.
But there's a standard for you to live up to. There's a standard for me, there's a standard for Banshee, for Saoirse, for Alana, for all Fianna. There's that standard that he expects of all of us.
We can't afford to have pride, Raya.
It's not about pride. It's nothing to do with pride. It's to do what you have to do. It's duty. It's that passion, that balance. Pride. Pride is the weakness.
Our pride is also our strength. And it's how we inspire others.
We inspire others through our action, not our pride. Through our resolution, to a point.
There's a lingering little bit of doubt, but
He'll stand up. What do you see when I paint myself in woad?
she falls on the floor. No, I assume she stands up as well.
Oh yeah, he gently helps her, yeah.
Yeah. He stands up. Punk. No. She'll ease up. Take her room. Ryan, what I see and what the nation sees are two very different things.
Answer the question and don't dance. What do you see as a Fianna?
Pardon me a second. Sorry, I have my mouth full. Yeah, he stands up and he puts his arm up and his arms up and demands this answer. And she markedly hesitates. Raya, I see the willingness to do what needs to be done, the willingness to cast aside armor, to cast aside personal pride, and to take up a banner. I see adherence to tradition. I see promises to the spirits to do what must be done. And I see the passion for battle.
That's Fianna. That's what you've done. Banshee does. That's Fianna. That's what we are. That's why we paint ourselves in woad. That's why we go out there. That's why we honor them all the time. Our ancestors, they're people, the people that have walked here. Our families, our kin.
He's definitely hit a note by throwing her own words back at her. Still, Raya, I do my part. But I would not say that I am by any means so proper a representation of Stag's will as the rest of the pack.
You're not listening to me. You're choosing what you want to hear. I'm saying you're living to a standard. You're assuming that I'm saying you're the best of the best when I'm saying none of us are. Not even me. But we live up to it. We have to. And when we die, we die. We die with our smile. We die painted in woad, charging in. We don't hesitate. Nobody is at that standard yet. Not even Von Everett. All we are is just men and women, guru of the nation, that are trying to be that standard.
And she's listening. Her lips have pressed into a firm line again. And it's very clearly breaking through. The point is being made. And it's right up until the mention of Von Everett that she's steadily listening, processing. But the mention of him suddenly strikes her comically out of left field. And she'll look vaguely stricken, particularly as the Theurge of the pack. And once he finishes, she's I mean, they're both still standing, but she's brought a hand up and is rubbing nervously at her own cheek, kind of stirring thoughts around that are completely separate from the ones that have to do with the conversation. And as something of a sudden shot out of left field goes, "Oh, Gaia, Raya, they're going to want to paint with us."
Of course. Why do you think I've had the kin preparing LWOD?
Raya, they are leagues above us.
Of course. And we'll paint them as an honour to who they are. And if they paint us, then we are humbled by that. But we are all brothers and sisters in that paint, regardless of rank.
She continues to look not quite panicked, but definitely frazzled. Raya, do we even know their pack totem?
Why don't we find out?
This is an anxious little nod. I should do that. Then she finally kind of like, in that fashion, kind of classical too. Legs giving out now. Oh, hey, look, a chair. That's way better than falling on the floor. Like, just abruptly sits in the chair that he's vacated.
Kneel down in front of her. Look at her, kind of quirking his head. Would you like to be called Moira at any point?
And it definitely snaps her attention most of the way out of what she's dwelling on. And she hesitates and actually stares at him eye to eye for a good couple moments. Not because she thinks he in particular is likely to trap her, but just because a question like that is never... It's always a trick question. It's always a trick question. Would I be any better than Alana if I did, Raya?
Would you? Would you, if I found a way, called you Moira Lynch?
Well, previous train of thought is completely abandoned. It hops the tracks and it's gone now. And she just is stricken. There's, you know, it's not comically shocked, but shock has definitely kind of frozen her up. And if anything, she looks vaguely disbelieving. Right, could you even do that?
I have no family, 10 point. All mine are dead.
No others? Uncles, aunts?
Probably. But I wasn't very much well aware about the whole kinfolk thing.
I wouldn't want to dishonor your family name.
Why would you do that?
Considering that the answer, at least in her head, is very obvious and sitting on top of her head, she seems kind of puzzled by the question and just stays awkwardly silent.
You smirk at her a bit. Why would I not accept my family as my family? Why would I not save my family? By giving her what she truly wants to be.
Because nobody wants to dirty their name by putting it on a menace trial.
And if I found a way for you to have Moira as your name, would you take it?
And there's not even necessarily a particular kind of emotion, so much as an overabundance of it building to the point where it's fairly, especially in Aiden's case, it's very easy to read that hardening edge that's going on. So she gives a minuscule nod.
Would you like to know who your family were? If I tried to find out for you.
And at this point, her hands have kind of come together and begun to, like, nervously fiddle, roll around. Just something to vent off a bit of the nervous energy. Yes, Raya.
Then why wouldn't I do that for you?
And while the subject line still has her a little bit on the weak need side, she very abruptly kind of lunges up out of the chair and just dives in completely shamelessly, no hesitation, to just dive into his chest and put her arms around him.
But me doing this comes with one price.
Anything, Raya?
Kneel down and look at her. Like, actually get to down to her level nearly. Because he's a good bit taller than her from what I remember.
Yeah, she's not especially short, but I mean, she's not tall per se.
He's like 6'4", so he's pretty tall.
Yeah.
What Balian asked you to do with Jacob, I'd like you to stop.
Well, of all the things she might have imagined he would ask, that was not among them. And she abruptly looks kind of stricken and actually reels back a bit. Especially with him being so close. It's kind of hard to think. Why?
I don't trust it. His people murdered Balians. And I know why you're doing it. But I can't. I'll stop. Look down. I can't see you at risk. We need you in our pack. We need you. I need you here, 10 Point.
Raya, he's no threat to me.
He's a threat.
He doesn't even know me, Raya.
Exactly. He doesn't care.
He doesn't understand.
He will never understand.
I don't expect him to.
No, but he'll pretend to. And then he'll do what they all have done to people. Balian's family. Garrett. And I can't watch you be put through that. I'm not saying flat out ignore him. I'm not saying I'd like you to stop doing what Balian asked.
And she just kind of shoots a wary glance back towards the door, almost as though she's like, I don't know, worried someone's listening at it, somehow that someone's going to know about the conversation. Glances back at him again. But isn't it important, Raya, that we have the highest ranking Philodox beyond the Truth Catcher in our pocket?
And he's in your pocket. But right now there's a line you're skirting.
He's changing a bit at a time. I'm leading him into it. If I promise to pull away, if there's any sign of a threat, if there's anything that he does that could put me at risk, would that be enough?
If he... And actually, you do see Aiden get very angry then. If there's even a slight hint of a threat, I'll go over there myself.
She quickly kind of puts up her hands, looking to, like, set them on his shoulders, to, like, just kind of placating gesture.
I don't give a fuck. He's got a clave.
Not like that,
He's
right? He would never.
How do you know? How do you know, 10 Point?
I have the thought of me being harmed distresses him so much, even when it's me doing it.
But yet he crucified Forlorn and hung him up like a tree.
That wasn't his idea, and you know it.
But he went along with it. And he enjoyed it.
She, especially considering the tone, and I imagine the fact that he's leaning in on that, kind of shrinks the tiniest bit.
He went in there to that hospital and killed all those people, didn't he?
He was lied to, Raya. He was told that everyone in that hospital was a drone. I spoke to him on it after the mission was over. Once he realized the truth, he was angry with William White, Raya.
All I'm saying is it's very convenient. I don't trust him. The man's a fool. And I'm not having him drag you down. Because Balian wants a quick method of revenge and not the long goodbye.
This is the long goodbye, Raya.
And I'm not having you at risk for that. I can't.
Even if I shared my eyes and ears with Uriah when I was with him.
I can't at that point. don't like the fact you're near him. And I understand the need for vengeance, I really do. More than anyone. But I can't see you. I just can't do it.
What would you have me do?
I don't know. I don't know, Tenpoint.
Right, even Felix knows me better than Jacob does.
I'm just worried I'll lose you.
And at least with that, she eases up a little. And even steps back in a bit. You couldn't, right?
I don't trust him, Tenpoint. I don't like the way he looks at you.
He just thinks I'm something to be saved, Rhea. He doesn't know any better.
He almost
And
gets
as long
it.
as he's... She blinks.
You are something to be saved. But it's up to you to do it yourself. We can only guide. Every menace is that way.
He wants to save me from my position, Ryan, not from an actual threat. As long as he's focused on an impossible task, what harm can he do?
From your position.
There's a vague upward gesture made, obviously a reference to her mutation.
He wants to save you from being menace.
From the implications, I think. From the things I've been taught.
I
An
see.
impossible task, Raya.
And what authority does he have to question Fianna ways?
Oh, he never does. Not outright. But I think that he is so human that he can't understand that I'm not. And I never have been.
Then
And I
maybe
never will be.
Then maybe tell him and see how he reacts when he's told no. I heard he reacts poorly.
I would sabotage all the work I had done since coming here, Raya.
No, I think you would have proven it exactly. Because what happens if the great Jacob Clay snaps?
And is exactly what you're afraid he'll do?
I'm afraid he'll drag you down with him if you follow that coordinate path, Tenpoint.
Raya, I'm not following anyone but you.
I'm afraid you'll get caught up in this bullshit. And I'm afraid I'll lose you like I lost Saoirse.
I am not so fickle, Raya, nor so easily lost.
I still fear, Tenpoint. You know, we punish and we do all these things. And some of them are harsh and some of them are cold.
There must be, Raya.
He just lifts his hand, almost like a let me finish, but not harshly. But I wanted to shove Dallas's head down that shower for what she did to you. For humiliating you. It's a grim task. And yes, there's a thrill, there's a rush. But there's no humiliation. At least I don't try to.
Don't forget, Raya. I've had worse.
It's not
And
the
even
point.
you.
10 point is not the point. Humiliating is just going to drive you away.
Or it will teach me to be humble, Raya.
You're already humble. You need to learn, but you also need a gentle hand, as well as a firm shoulder. How else can you balance yourself?
She seems a little off-center over the whole idea, really.
I'm harsh because I need to be. But you, I wish for out of all the people, all the metas I've ever met, you're one of us. You remind me of someone very special to me. Not her, but someone who I failed a long time ago.
You haven't failed me, Raya, and you won't.
I'm not going to, no. I'll smile a bit. But I'm saying out of everybody, you deserve that chance. And it frustrates me that Jacob and the likes of these people who pander don't see that. And I worry for you.
I can't understand, Raya. Jacob has spent his whole life as a guru in this place. He can't possibly understand where we come from. And I have no intention of teaching him. Not unless it is one tiny step at a time. He has only been firm with me once. And it was because he caught me. And she kind of has a hand up, kind of idly rubbing it like the top curve of her shoulder.
Hey, I don't like you scourging yourself, but I know it's a grim thing that we have to face. I can hardly say anything.
It keeps me from becoming unbalanced.
It's true, but why do you think I like to be gentle with you as well? Because you also need other ways, not just one.
I don't know the other ways.
That's why I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you what a family looks like, 10 Point. Because Fiona value family. And you, and through no fault of your own, have never had that before. So how can you know what it looks like? Until you feel it.
And by then, her eyes have been kind of slowly dropping, and by now they're right about on her feet.
You lift her chin up so she looks directly at him. And again, just strokes her cheek slightly.
I mean, he'll catch the telltale kind of emotional tinge of something of a rush.
He'll just smile. He'll smile at her.
So much is different here, Ryan.
I know. That's why I'm worried about you. That's why I want you to remember that right here, you don't have to fear difference or strange change around me.
What if what you do is strange and different?
And he'll smile a bit. You Tri-Spows were always very confused by us from Silver Tara. And I've always been my own man.
And well, there's a sense of acceptance. There's also a brief sense of sharp conflict before she finally tucks her chin off his finger and immediately looks to kind of hide her face in his shirt, pointedly kind of breaking eye contact to do so.
He'll stroke her hair and look up at her. Make her look up at him. I love you, okay? I want you to know that. I love you like I love Dallas. I love you like I love Banshee. And Balian. Whatever the rest of them may say, I love you, Moira.
And she gets Again, abruptly kind of weak-kneed. And grabs around him a little more tightly, gets watery-eyed. And there's a very weak little nod.
Come on, let's get you to bed. Can't have everyone see you crying now, can we?
Gives her head slightly more energetic shake. Bring a hand up, rubbing at her eyes. Though she keeps kind of a death grip with the other hand on the back of her shirt.
He gently just hoists her up. No problem at all. We'll carry her into his room and tuck her in beside him.
And yeah, she will, once they've both been plopped down, will go ahead and nest up to him very tightly. But yeah, still very chastely, just very, very tightly, very needly.
And yeah, I think that's probably the best place to end that.
Yep. So with that, we'll say thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. See you next time on the Living World of Darkness, Rage Across New York.